Hello and welcome to Press X. Today we're going to talk about possibly the hottest topic of all hot topics on gaming YouTube, and that is the AAA game. A lot of it is basically calling it the second coming of Satan, the end of days, gaming industry is going to eat itself. Lots of bad sort of framing tools for what the AAA game is. But what about the other side?
Let's start off with a very, very basic question. What is a AAA game?
Well, there's probably all sorts of different definitions, but the way I've always thought of it is in the sense of the old Hollywood system.
Okay.
Where a AAA game is like a big budget studio film. Not everybody can make them because they don't have like the stature or distribution or like money to put behind it. But yeah, that's the way I've always thought of it. There's only a certain number of studios who can do it because there's only a certain number of studios who have that size and money. But that's what they are. I don't know if you agree, but if you've got a different definition, by all means.
So basically what you're saying is it's the stature of the developer or the publisher, the amount of money invested, and the length of time of the project, would you say?
Yeah, and there's a lot of them that tend to be sort of games to make you invest a lot of money and a lot of time, like a subscription, microtransactions, stuff like this tend to be rife in this sort of
lots of DLC,
game.
Lots of expansions, that sort of thing. Or just a very long campaign filled with all sorts of annoying little fetch quests.
Yeah.
I wonder which game we could be talking about there.
Anything from Ubisoft.
Oh, you read my mind. AAA games, what's the appeal? Why do people like them?
Well, let's go on the other side. I mean, the problem with them fundamentally is they seem to be sort of so divorced from like gaming culture and what people like in games. And going back to what we were saying about the sort of studio system, they are made for the investors rather than the fans.
Well, they're made for the mass market, really.
Well, no, they're made. That is true, but they're also made to get as much money back as possible for the shareholders of your EAs, of your Ubisofts, of your.
That's what I mean when I say they're made for the mass market. Yeah. That's exactly what I mean when I say that they're made for the mass market. It's basically checkbox game development, right? They basically have a checklist of things that they know the people generally like, and by the people I don't mean gamers. Using Michael Bay's Transformers movies as an example, they're not good movies, and yet they made all of the money because people went there to enjoy the explosions and the robot on the hot robot on robot action.
It's a fair analogy, but I feel like AAA games can be good games.
No, AAA games can be good games. What I'm saying is, in general, finding a good AAA game, how many are there?
I don't know. Rewinding about 5 years ago, I'd say there's quite a number of them.
Yeah, but now?
This past 5 years has been rough on the AAA game.
Yeah, and one of the reasons for that is because the way that they develop AAA games has started changing at a fundamental level, as far as I can see. You covered Plague Tale: Innocence, right?
I did, yes.
Okay. And it's a mid-range game, isn't it?
It's the sort of thing that made PlayStation 2 one of the best console runs in gaming history.
Yeah. Now, imagine a major developer, someone like Square Enix or Ubisoft or even EA, got their hands on Plague Tale: Innocence and pushed the development. How do you think it would have developed?
Well, for one, it had been an open-world game. Two, it wouldn't have been in the age of the plague. Three, there'd be weapons. There'd be upgradable skins. It'd basically be a sci-fi game.
Do you see what I mean about the checklist approach to games development? As soon as I said, take that game and give it to one of the major publishers, or a big name developer to do, and immediately you started rattling off things that you know they're going to do, like the open world, like the microtransactions, like the skins, stuff like that. This is all stuff that I think dilutes the essence of AAA gaming. And for me, if I was going to liken it to movies, right? AAA gaming should be like, say, the Avengers movies.
Yeah,
right?
It's fan service, but it's what fans want rather than what the studios want.
Yeah, and Marvel did something amazing with the whole Avengers, with the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, in that they spent 10 years building it up. Now, I'm not saying that video games developers should spend 10 years building things up, but I look at what happened with Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
You know, you had a great opportunity to push development for Assassin's Creed in so many interesting ways, and you basically you dropped the ball.
I mean, it's better now. It's every 2 years, but still, annualizing or putting a game out every 2 years, which is story driven, is idiotic.
Well, it's not just idiotic; it dilutes everything. When you have a narrative-driven game that doesn't have a strong narrative,
so you've done the same with Far Cry. I mean, what's Far Cry? You're basically in. Well, what was Far Cry? You were in like a deserted part of the countryside or the outback in some part of the world. How can you annualize that?
Yeah, you can't.
But they did.
Yeah, I know they did. And that's what I mean. When you have a game that's very heavily story driven, but it doesn't have a strong storyline, you know?
Yeah. Another good one was they turned Dead Space into a AAA game with Dead Space 3.
Yeah.
So it's a studio system that does this.
Yeah, and this is the thing. It's designed to cater to the mass market so it can maximize the profits for the shareholders. Now, gamers might be upset at what I'm about to say, right? But the modern games market, the modern AAA games market, is not focused on them at all.
I think they know that at this point, given how little they care about what gamers think. They just go ahead and do whatever they feel like they need to do.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Gamers might not like the fact that I'm coming right out and saying it.
Yeah, but I think they know it at the same time. But
they know it, but they bury their head in the sand, okay? They have a tendency to bury their heads in the sand. You know this as well as I do, okay?
They can bury their head in the sand. Let's just be fair here.
AAA games aren't really for gamers. You have the odd developer like CD Projekt Red. Their past work does offer a promising future for development, or developments from them anyway, productions from them. But a lot of the innovative stuff, a lot of the imaginative stuff, a lot of the interesting stories are happening in mid-range and indie games.
Yes, but that's not what we're talking about today.
No, what I'm saying is that there is no cascade up effect going on. You don't see mid-range developers or indie developers moving up into AAA games. Instead, what you see is developers who have historically worked on AAA games being pushed down into mid-range and sometimes even breaking up and the team going indie.
Here's something that I want to sort of position. The gaming that we've been talking about, this is all third-party developers.
Yeah.
It's a different story altogether when you talk about first-party developers.
Oh, yeah.
Developers owned by Nintendo, by Sony, and hopefully Microsoft too.
Yep.
Because using the testbed of Sony's first-party games,
yeah,
there is God of War,
yeah,
Uncharted, Horizon Zero Dawn,
yeah,
Days Gone, and although those games do have some of the baggage of a AAA game, in the case of two of those titles at least, it's an open-world, expansive game. But at the same time, it's not done in a way which is... the term which I would use to describe a AAA game is exploitative. And those type of first-party, the PlayStation ones in particular, because that's my reference point right now, they aren't exploitative of the people who buy them.
Yeah.
So it can be possible, but I don't think those studios are totally motivated by greed. There's a little bit more creative reasoning there.
One of the reasons for that is because they're not in competition. If it's an in-house developer, they're not in competition with other developers to basically maximize the profits of this particular game. And because it's a completely in-house project, they've been allocated a budget and they can work to that budget. They basically, there's no moving of the goalposts halfway through the development process. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, let's just use an example. You brought up Plague Tale.
Yeah.
Imagine any of, let's see, I can't remember his name, but he did Shadow of the Colossus, Ico, The Last Guardian. Imagine any of those games under a third-party dynamic.
Yeah.
I don't think it could be possible for it to exist. I'm not saying those games are AAA, but it's the space that they operate in which dictates what they are.
Yeah.
Words. I have words.
One of the best games of last year, right, that I played, it was basically an in-house development, wasn't it? Spider-Man.
All right. Yes, it was.
Okay,
it was owned by Sucker Punch, was it?
No, it was Insomniac.
Oh, yeah. Sucker Punch is the other one that I was confused them for.
Yeah, it was Insomniac, but Insomniac is basically a Sony company, isn't it?
Well, they're owned by them, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you look at games like that that have been made by developers who are owned by Sony. They're not in competition with anybody for the IP. They're not really at risk of being fired or being left off the project because they're working to a budget and they know who they're working for. They've got
Well, there is pressures there, but I think it's different pressures.
Yeah, there's pressures there. If you look at the Grand Theft Auto games, for example, it's all Rockstar all the way, isn't it? From development to publishing.
They're the exception to the rule because they've sort of became too big to be, because they sell like literally all of the games in the world. They don't need people to continuously invest in them because the Rockstar games are genuinely that sort of game which everybody has.
Yeah.
And say what you will about the way they've treated their employees, especially with the Red Dead Redemption 2 stories and their slavish attention to detail. But they're very pure as to what they want.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. In-house games developers tend to be a lot purer about what they want and what their game's about.
With the exception of Rockstar, because they're with everybody them.
Well, Rockstar want to be everything to everyone, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
But if you look at Nintendo, they do a lot of in-house games development.
Yeah.
And you can't really talk about in-house games development without talking about Nintendo. They do a hell of a lot, and they have a hell of a lot of IPs that are in-house IPs.
It's the problem with Nintendo at the same time. They're a bit too slavish to that.
Yeah.
But as far as the problems of having an exploitative games market or having a limited number of IPs that are overused, I'd go for the limited number of IPs that are overused, frankly. As the better of two options by far.
Yeah. That, I think, is one of the ways to maybe fix what's wrong with AAA games development at the moment.
Well, I think what's wrong with AAA games development is really catching up with companies like Electronic Arts, Ubisoft, Bethesda. It's really the world is catching up with them, and they're saying you really have to stop doing this. And the amount of news stories and the amount of bad press that they are continuously getting.
Yeah, but
nobody's going to be happy about that, especially the shareholders who are there slavishly obeying.
Yeah, but by the same token, they are still making all the money.
Yeah, it's a
catch-22.
Many years ago, we did an episode on the Geek Show podcast. Find it on all good podcast providers, called The Culture Crash.
Yeah.
In the case of the gaming, I think it's constantly sort of fighting it off with one hand.
Yeah, it's holding on for dear life by its fingertips. And I think that's a good place to leave this.
Yeah.
It's a topic that we can come back to.
That's it, really. It's just that TripleA isn't inherently dirty. It's just there's inherently dirty companies that are doing them.
Well, I wouldn't say they're inherently dirty. I'd say that's just business in the modern world. Unfortunately,
tomato.
The thing is, it's unfortunate, but that is how businesses are in the modern world. It doesn't matter whether we like it or not. That's how they make money, and that's how they pay their wages of their staff members. And we might not like it because it's coming out of our pockets, but the people who work for them, that's how they put food on the table and pay their rent and pay their bills.
Oh, and Activision too. Activision are the worst.
But anyway, let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos like this, then hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you all next time.